Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. On May 29th, as tensions between Donald Trump and Harvard University continued to escalate, a Chinese international student took the stage at Harvard's graduation ceremony with a speech titled, "Defending Our Humanity." The speech quickly went viral online. Due to her complex family background, and the fact that her rhetoric closely echoed Chinese President Xi Jinping's community of shared future for mankind, many American conservatives and Chinese anti-communist commentators saw her remarks not as a personal expression, but as a polished piece of state propaganda wrapped in soft language. Soon after, multiple U.S. media outlets began digging into the murky relationship between Harvard and the Chinese Communist Party. Reports revealed that Harvard had long been a favored institution for the overseas training of CCP elites, and that it even maintained ties with the infamous Xinjiang Production and Construction Corps. These revelations sparked public backlash, with growing calls among American citizens to revoke Harvard's eligibility to recruit international students. Meanwhile, in China, the student speaker Jiang Yurong also faced widespread criticism. The reason was simple. Her father is a senior official within the Chinese system. Many Chinese netizens felt that someone who gained access to elite Western education through family privilege, and would most likely build her career and life abroad, was unqualified to represent the voice of ordinary Chinese people. This kind of double rejection, being shunned by both sides, was something few had expected. A student standing on the podium of the world's top university ended up representing neither the mainstream values of the West nor the sentiments of the Chinese public. But this isn't the first time a Chinese student has sparked major controversy by delivering a graduation speech at an American university. Back on May 21, 2017, at the University of Maryland's commencement ceremony near Washington, D.C., a Chinese student named Shuping gave a speech that, while initially praised by some as a proud moment for Chinese youth abroad, ended up triggering outrage on Chinese social media due to its allegedly anti-China rhetoric. So today, let's revisit what exactly Shuping said, and why her speech struck such a nerve with many Chinese citizens. I've included a link to Shuping's full speech below for those who'd like to watch it in full. At the beginning of her speech, Yang made a clever analogy. She described how the air in America was so clean that she no longer needed to wear a mask the moment she stepped off the plane. This served as a metaphor for the larger theme of her speech, freedom. The image was vivid. Removing her mask symbolized the release of long-held restrictions, a metaphorical gasp for air after years of repression. It was a striking depiction of the liberation she felt both physically and mentally after leaving China. But it was this very image that led to her being vilified online, labeled a traitor, sellout, and disgrace to the nation. The core of the controversy lay in her remarks about air quality. Shuping is from Kunming, Yunnan, a city with consistently low PM 2.5 levels, between 20 to 30 micrograms per cubic meter, ranking among the top 30 in China and one of the cleanest provincial capitals. According to US standards, this might be considered only moderate air quality, but in fact, it's still better than cities like Denver or Salt Lake City. Many Chinese netizens argued she was exaggerating and smearing China. After all, people from those American cities wouldn't feel a dramatic improvement in air quality if they traveled to San Francisco or Seattle. So why would someone from Kunming feel so breathless? However, a closer reading of her speech reveals that her metaphor wasn't meant to be taken literally. The mask wasn't just about pollution, it was about censorship and repression. She was referring to the social reality in China, where expressing one's opinion freely often invites criticism or even punishment from parents, teachers, or society at large. At the University of Maryland, for the first time, she felt the freedom to discuss sensitive topics openly. Sadly, this deeper message was never acknowledged in Chinese media. What the public saw were cherry-picked excerpts, stripped of nuance and repackaged as evidence of her betrayal. That speech ultimately reshaped Yang's life. It said she failed to obtain a U.S. green card, moved to South Korea for work, and later returned to China after struggling during the pandemic. Since then, she's virtually disappeared from public view. Chinese media, of course, sees this as a cautionary tale, circulating her failed life story with 3 key smears. That her employment troubles in the US and Korea were due to backlash from her anti-China speech, a ridiculous claim. No liberal democratic society would punish a graduate for expressing pro-democracy views in line with local values. That she returned to China because the country's COVID response was so successful, she came back to survive. This is straight-up propaganda, turning a complex personal decision into a political victory lap. That she was jobless, single, and living off her parents because no one wanted to associate with a traitor. A classic villain-ending narrative, invented solely to emotionally satisfy a certain nationalist audience. Now let's compare Yang Shuping's speech to Jiang Yurong's. The contrast is stark. Yang's message had substance, structure, depth, and boldness qualities that reflect the liberal education and critical thinking she absorbed in the US. In contrast, Jiang Yurong's Defending Our Humanity speech reads like it came straight from a Chinese Communist Party playbook, full of vague slogans and political platitudes. Swap a few words, and it could pass for one of Xi Jinping's speeches at the UN. If someone studies at Harvard for years and ends up giving a graduation speech indistinguishable from a government official's talking points, then what's the point of Harvard continuing to recruit international representatives like this? If all they offer is rehearsed loyalty to the state rather than genuine personal insight, we have to ask, what does that say about the true value of such education?